Hello, Hannah Chelsea, the baby maven here, and I am so thrilled to welcome you to today's expert interview. We have so much good stuff to discuss today, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to today's guest expert, Nicola Price. Nicola brings an intuitive clarity to any situation. She spent several years working around the world as a nanny and now works via Skype to help others calm the mind chatter, stop second-guessing themselves, and bring confident trust into their life. As one client recently said, I used to think I just wanted someone to tell me the answers in life, but I've learned over time that all the golden advice I need is inside of me. Nicola did not shortchange me on my gold. She allowed me to cash in on the richness of my own wisdom. Oh my goodness, you can see why I think Nicola is the greatest, right? Plus, she has the most amazing accent, and she's joining us from New Zealand. I know you're just gonna love her. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Nicola so she can share a bit more about herself and how she got into the biz.
Hi, thanks, Hannah. What a wonderful introduction. And I don't know about my accent. I do have a bit of accent cringe, but never mind. I got into this business, as you were saying, I was nannying for many years. And from that, I actually became a massage therapist. And I realized both with nannying, as a maternity nanny, and with massaging, I could do a textbook, whatever session, textbook kind of job, and nothing would change. What I realized from that was it is up here in the mind, and we lose our confidence, we lose our sense of trust, our communication with our body that we've had for millennia. That we know when to run away or when to, stand, and that fight or flight kind of thing. But society, and I think it's mostly in the last 100 years or so with the bombardment of advertising and advice and medicalization of a lot of different aspects of our life, we put our trust in other people. And I really want to bring it back to the self.
That's so important.
That was part of my journey. I studied NLP, a master trainer in NLP, and a lot of different counseling modalities as well. Yeah.
It's nice. So you have the background in it too, to be able to bring that wealth of knowledge. So I'm interested to know, because you said it's so important for people to be able to trust in themselves and get back into their confidence. What are some tools that you would suggest for viewers to be able to do this?
Yeah, so bringing yourself back. I'm just gonna, look at my notes here. So one of the things as a nanny, I noticed it's kind of a license, having a baby, whether it's your biological baby or as a nanny, it's a license to other people to give you advice in public. In situations that people would never normally speak to you. I'm thinking like at the supermarket when someone's saying, your child's saying, I want this, and you're like, no, someone feels that they're allowed, or they have permission to come up and give you advice on how to handle that situation. And it's really easy, once or twice is fine, 100 times, 20 times, it's just, you start to think, well, maybe I am doing something wrong, whatever it is like that. And you get into that I don't know kind of, I just don't know what to do now kind of thing. And one of the really cool things I like about the brain is it doesn't tell the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. As far as our neurological kind of pathways work, that's the same thing. So when you find yourself going into that, I don't know what to do, kind of checking out sort of stage, imagine what you would do. And when you put that word imagine in there, it sort of takes the pressure off, because we know the difference between reality and imagination. So if we just say, well, what would you imagine you would do? What would you like to be able to do? If you were going to wave a magic wand, what would you do? And putting that kind of fantasy in there, it gets in under that frontal lobe logic kind of way that's telling you all the different advice that you're being given, and giving you that overwhelm where you're just slipping back into I don't know what to do. So that would be my number one tool when you're feeling like that, is imagine. Just pretend. What would you do if you wanted to do X, Y, or Z? And then take action. Go and do it, because nothing is permanent in this world. And I mean that in an uplifting way, not in a morbid way. If you try it and it doesn't work, you actually get to try again. If you're trying to get wee bubs to sleep and you think, well, I'll try this. All the books say this and all the experts say this, and this is what I'd like to try. This is what I'm imagining would work. Try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. It's not like it's the one choice you only get to make and there's no other choices after that. And I think in doing that, you also get to return to a sense of self-agency. So bringing your power back to yourself, and not putting it in the books, or not putting it in the strangers at the supermarket, or in your very well-meaning family, or anybody else but you, because you're the one who has that, I'll say power, because power is a loaded word, but this is what I mean. Like, you have agency of your life, and for the time being of another life. So bring that back to yourself. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I agree that it's crazy how often people find it just like acceptable to give advice to new moms, or even just pregnant moms, that in society, that's kind of like, you get like a free pass if you see somebody who has a little kid to say what you want. And that adds to like this overwhelm, and it adds a lot of confusion, because how are these moms supposed to know how to trust themselves when they're hearing all these different things that they're like, well, maybe I should follow that, or maybe I shouldn't. And it's I'm sure challenging to be able to then pull back and say, well, wait, what do I actually think and feel in this moment? And also, is it okay for me to just follow that because that's what I want? But there's a million different pieces of advice out there.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy to be a new mom or to be pregnant.
Yeah. Like, I think too that as well, because people love to give advice. And I know when I was, a newly trained nanny, and I had all the latest research, and I did a year-long course at quite a prestigious college, and so it was quite intense on child psychology and things like, those kind of aspects. And I had all the advice, and I was this young, this 20-year-old. I looked like I was 13, and I was ready and willing to tell everybody. And I just want to slap my little 20-year-old self. But I think it comes from a kind place. It comes from a place of wanting to make your life easier. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. And I know this now, because you've got so much else going on. You don't need somebody who's got no idea of your exact situation. And that's something that I really encourage people to remember, is that it's not their life. They only see this little tiny slither, just one aspect of a tiny slither. They don't see the whole picture, or your background, your childhood, or your parents' childhood, and all of this that comes in to being a parent. So I would just say, when you are getting advice, remember not to engage with that conversation, particularly from strangers, and just remember that it is their stuff that's coming up when they're talking to you in public about this kind of stuff. And if you're feeling like it, you can flick it back at them and just say, thanks, I'm sure you were a great mother to little Tommy, or whoever they're, like when Tommy was a boy, I used to do. Just, flick it back and say, well, I'm sure you're a great mom. They're not actually talking about you and your situation, even if that's the words they're using. And it helps to remember that, I think. And the other thing, if it's not strangers, if it's actually your close family, your immediate friends that are giving your advice, remembering that it's coming from a kind place, give them a notebook and just say, thanks, I've got so much going on. I've got a bit of a baby brain going on right now. Here's a notebook. Can you please write it down for me? And you never have to look in that notebook, but they feel satisfied that they've been able to help. I hope that makes sense. That was one of the biggest things I used to give to my maternity nanny clients, was the notebook. And it can be, you know, pretty beautiful thing that's, you know, like a baby book kind of thing. It's fun to look back in as well if you open it 5 years later and read the advice with that bit of distance. It can be quite amusing.
Yeah, I could see how that could be very entertaining. I've never thought to suggest something like that. But I feel like it would be very fulfilling for both sides. The people who really want to give the advice, they get it out there. And then the people who really don't need to hear it right then, can just have that distance, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So with that, with being able to create that little bit of distance from this kind of overwhelm of advice and suggestions from outside people, once new moms are able to do that, do you have any suggestions on how they can also just better hear and trust their own instincts and really be sure of, like really know what they know?
Yeah. I think, like I was saying earlier, it's easy to lose that, what, you know, knowing what you know, because of the overwhelm of the influx of information that you get. It's easy to start doubting yourself. But I would encourage people in that situation just to go and ask themselves some questions. And this could be internally, you could do it with a friend, anything like that. But just ask, is this actually true for me? Is what I'm thinking right now, is this true for me? Or is this something that I saw on the telly 6 months ago and, you know, it's kind of subliminally worked its way in there? Is this actually real and true for me, what I'm thinking right now? Or who does it actually belong to? Like I was saying, did I get it out of a book? Did I get it from the television? Did I get it from my mother, from my mother-in-law? You know, who does this belong to? And also taking time away from their friends and their family, really going back to themselves, whether it's going for a half-hour walk by themselves or out to the beach or just sitting in the bath reading a book. Really spending that alone time to remember that you're not just a mother. You know, you were so many things before you had a baby, and you're still all those things. You know, you're still a sister or a daughter or a wife or a partner or a lawyer, accountant, a friend, a dancer, a writer, a coffee lover, a, you know, chocolate cake indulger. There's so many more aspects to you than just motherhood. So I really encourage people to take that time to nurture every other dimension that they have going on, so that they remember themselves and they don't just get lost in being a mother.
I find that really interesting because actually I'm not going to be able to remember what book it was, but there was a book that I was reading that said, if you look at like all these different versions of you, like your work self, your home self, you and your job, you with your significant other, all of those things, you're going to find that in certain areas you excel in certain things. So maybe you're extremely confident in as your work self, but you're really not confident in your dating self or something like that. And it was so intriguing because the book said basically all of these are already you. And so like, why can't you take that confidence that you have at work and put it into your dating life, or put it into your mom self when you're feeling down? You can pull that like, oh, well, I rock at this other thing when I'm in that self.
Yeah.
So I like what you're saying. You really do have to nurture all of you, and
Yeah.
not just necessarily be defined by this new title of being a mom, which is incredible. And I think it feels like it's an all-encompassing thing once it happens, but
yeah, but you're still there. You know, you might have just created another life, and you're all these other things as well. And I really like how you said to bring, like, maybe you're really organized at work and you're the efficient, organized person, to bring those kind of things into your home life as well. And it's a tool that I wanted to share today for people, something that they can do to achieve that. And it's called anchoring. So anchoring it's like a switch or a trigger or something like that, so we can have control over how we feel It's associating two different states. So maybe it's being organized at work to create that in your home life, or maybe it's being calm and confident when you are talking to a friend over coffee and bringing that into at 2 a.m. when little bubs won't sleep. So we can all set an anchor right now. If you just create a word in your mind that you would like to have access to at your fingertips. So that might be confidence, that might be sexy, that might be joyful, it might be in the zone, any word that comes to your mind. And remember a time when you felt like that. And while you're thinking of a time that you felt like that, also find a unique spot on your body. A lot of people use, I don't know if you can see that, a lot of people use their knuckles or their earlobes, or sometimes pinching fingers together like that. So whilst you've got your memory, also just choose a little spot that we're going to use as your anchor. And you can think of it like a switch. So bring this memory to mind really quite strongly. And maybe there's 2 or 3 memories, and that's good as well. Then you're getting different layers of it, different aspects of this feeling or this word. So what do you see when you're in that memory, out your own eyes? What did that look like? And what kind of things were you hearing when you were in that situation, when you were feeling just so X, whatever your word or feeling is? Could you smell anything? Was there a particular temperature to the air? Could you taste anything? Really get all your senses involved with it. And when you're really quite strong with that memory, go ahead and press on your trigger. Press quite firmly, make sure you can really feel it there. And just as that memory reaches its peak, I want you to release that anchor. And we won't do it now, just I'm aware of time, but go and repeat that 3 or 4 or 5 times so that you're really layering that anchor and building it up and building it up. So you're really associating yourself with that memory, really getting into what it is like, not what it was like in the past, but what it is like now. You're bringing that memory into the present tense. And then you're firing off wherever it was that you chose as your unique anchor. And just before it reaches its peak, you release it. And you release it just before the peak, because the feeling will keep building inside you. It's got momentum. So if you cut it off at its peak, the momentum's going to be on the downhill. And what was the other thing I needed to say to that? Oh, and then get up and walk around for a little bit. Clap your hands a couple of times. Do something that's really going to move your lymph, move your fluid through. We call that a break state in NLP. And then go back and test the anchor. And the purpose of that is so that you can have a pure test. So you're not just riding on the back of remembering all those things. And then when you are in a situation somewhere and you think, oh, it would be really useful for me if I felt like this, you can fire off that anchor and conjure up that memory, that feeling again. Because again, the brain doesn't tell the difference between real and imaginary. So it's just switching on, hey, this is how we're feeling now. You've associated those 2 states, the state of feeling like this and pushing on your anchor. You can also do this for other people. So at my job, I work a couple of days a week in retail. And when we hit our targets early, I go around and I high five everyone. So that high five is associated with that feeling of, yes, we made our targets. And when the energy is dropping at work, because there's nothing worse than walking into a store and having the staff being all lackluster. So whenever that's kind of the energy's getting down, I go around and high five people. And because that's an anchor for them, they know that, yes, we've met our targets, high five. So high five gets a yes. And kind of working in reverse. You can do that for your children as well. It might not be a high five. It might be when you're settling them down, to sleep at night, you stroke their arm in a certain way. And so they associate having their arm stroked in a certain way with going to sleep. So whenever you need them calm or sleepy, then you can just stroke their arm, and it brings up those feelings for them to calm them down from being hyperactive or whatever the case may be. So it can be a really useful kind of tool, and it doesn't actually have to be a physical tool either. You could click. So Pavlov did this, his association experiment with the salivating dogs. He rang a bell and got the dog to salivate. This is an anchor. That's an audio anchor. Yeah, there's lots of different ways and contexts you can use it in, and I encourage people to play and explore it.
That's fascinating. I loved going through it. Like, I felt so happy even just like setting the anchor. So now I'm like so excited to be able to play around with it.
Cool.
And I did actually have one question though, with that you said, you know, that it can be like touching your ears or something like that. Is it good to associate a different action with each new anchor? Like if you have a confidence, you rub your ears, like happiness, you press on your knuckles or something like that? Or is it like?
Yeah, no, it's a switch. So you know, like you wouldn't wire 5 things to the one switch.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so keep them pure, as we would say. So, you know, this knuckle might be confidence and this knuckle might be in joy or something like that. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and you don't, as I said, you don't actually have to touch yourself. It might be what's another example? It might be visualization that you use. So this is important. Context is important as well. So say you're doing visualizations before you give birth, and you might use a nice big urn as a visualization. Urn's got a lovely wide opening, and you know, so you're going to visualize a vessel with a lovely wide opening, an urn. Now, your practice of any sort of practice you do is nowhere going to match the actual experience of giving birth. That's a very intense, specific time in your life. So the doing it once, just going, okay, urn, lovely, yep, urn, got it. That's not going to do any good for you when it comes time. It's something that you really have to build on and intensify to match the intensity of where you want to use it. So doing it once now, that's really great, but I do encourage you to build it up and practice it and use it. And it's about strengthening those neurological pathways. So, you know, using a better and better grade wire to get to your switch, if you will. Yeah.
So cool. I feel like after this discussion, all of our viewers are going to be like so freaking excited to get in touch with you. So I want to make sure that they have all the information that they would need to be able to connect with you. So we're going to run through our little like quick overview. What is the name of your business?
Yeah, so I work at nicolamaree.com, and I have all of my details listed there as well. You can find me on Facebook. I'm in facebook.com/groups/Nicola Maree. Or if you want to find my page, that is /meet Nicola. And you can find me there. There's lots of testimonials up there. I really love it when people share and you know, share not only the good stuff, but I love to hear. I'm a big self-improvement junkie as well, so I really love to hear people's experience either way, and that's all there on my page. And if you join my group, I've actually got a wee competition going. So join in the group and introduce yourself. Use the hashtag BMBH, Baby Maven Brought Me Here, BMBH, so that I know who's entered the competition, and you will win a half-hour session with me. Well, you might win. You go in the draw to win. I shouldn't say you will win, because it's not necessarily true. You will go in the draw to win a half-hour session with me, and I'm going to draw that in 12 hours.
Yeah, perfect. I'm so excited that you did like a little call to action and that people can enter on your group with the hashtag BMH, Baby Maven Brought Me Here, to be entered to win that half an hour Skype session with you, because trust me, Viewers, you will love it. It has been so incredibly fun talking to Nicola. It's just, I feel like I would never want to stop talking to her. So Nicola, I'm so thrilled that you were able to be one of my guest experts. It has been so fun chatting with you. And I really hope that we get to do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Hannah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so very welcome. And viewers, you can look in the email that you got with this to be able to have all of Nicola's information in writing. Her Facebook group, her website, and all the ways you would need to contact her, plus a little reminder on how to enter into that draw. So until next time, this has been fun, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.